Hello everyone, my name is Priyanjali Chanda from EKansh Trust. EKansh Trust is an NGO that works to empower persons with disabilities, and today we are speaking with Karen Karbhari. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
To start with, tell us something about yourself, please.
Uh, I lived in two different worlds, one before my daughter was born and one after. So, yes, I was a sports person to start with. I played hockey at state level, national level, represented Air India. Uh, I had a knee injury which got me to hit the books, and then I did a series of post graduation degrees. I've got about 6 to 7 post graduation degrees now, and I worked in the corporate world for 10 years. Then my daughter was born, and yes, it turned our lives upside down, inside out, and everything changed. And I started a recreational center for children with special needs in Jan 2018, and that's what I'm doing just now.
So when did you find out about your daughter's disability, and what was your family's reaction to it? Can you tell us a bit about it?
My daughter, when she was 2 days old, she had hypoglycemia and hypocalcemia. Her sugar and calcium levels basically dropped, which she had a seizure due to. And yes, that started it off. She was fine in the years that followed. She met all her milestones. Um, but when she was in the ICU for 25 days after she was born, and she was doing fine. She was doing fine. But when she was 3.5, she had a seizure again. And at that time, when we took an MRI, it gave us a reading that it was cerebral palsy. She was put on epilepsy medication, and she did well for a while. It was under control. Family, yes, we had a complete family support. They were there whenever we needed them. We never had any issue with family accepting my daughter with epilepsy, because my sister also has epilepsy. So epilepsy wasn't a stranger to the family as such. So yes, things were quite under control till she was 10 years old. But after that, things went, her epilepsy totally took over our lives and took over everything. And she would be getting about 20-25 seizures a day after that.
So, what was your daughter's home and school experience like?
She had the total support of family. They were always there whenever we needed them. School was a different story altogether. She was put initially in a normal school because she didn't have any development delays. She was doing very well in school, in fact, and because of the medication slowing her down, she couldn't write fast. Her coordination was an issue. She couldn't copy from the board very easily. She could, but it was an effort and it was slow in comparison to the others. So, yes, teachers weren't very sympathetic or empathetic with her. Probably they were not trained to deal with a child with special needs. So, yes, she had a lot of issues initially in school in the lower classes. Um, she was beaten in school, she was bullied in school. She went through something called school phobia. But where lessons were concerned and studies were concerned, she was able to keep up with the class. We didn't have issues. But from the fourth standard, it was becoming an issue. Multitasking, doing a lot of maths, it wasn't simple for her anymore. So we moved school. She moved through 4 schools. We tried an inclusive school, but it didn't work for her. We tried a special school. Same thing, she did not fit in. I looked at about 42 schools in Pune at that point of time. And we are talking about 12 years ago nearly. So I went from school to school to school to see where she would fit in. Unfortunately, She didn't just fit in anywhere. So she was neither in a normal school, she didn't fit in a special school. We were in between. So that was a difficulty, finding a school that was, would cater to her needs. She didn't have really too many special needs, but at the same time, yes, she had slowed down. And she was having so many seizures in a day. So keeping up with school, keeping up with her epilepsy was a very difficult task. So schools, she doesn't have very good memories about school, unfortunately.
So, ma'am, how was your journey? Like you mentioned, you were looking for schools for her, and there were 42 schools that you trying to get in touch with. So, how was your experience? How was your journey throughout?
See, with the outside world, I struggled. It was very frustrating. It was lots of ups and downs, and really going up to a blank wall sometimes. Where my journey with my daughter is concerned, it is a very fulfilling feeling, I think. She has taught me a lot. I have learned a lot from her as a child. She, in fact, more than a parent, I think I learned more from her. You know, for example, we take so much for granted. And I remember this incident. She was 2 or 3 years old. And, we had taken her to the garden downstairs, and she was having a great time running up, down the swings and slides and with friends. And you know how children are at that age, really having a party at the garden as such. And then I found her missing. And I went searching. I was worried, like, what happened? And found her behind the clubhouse in a corner. She was praying. So I told her, "What is wrong with you? Why are you praying? I mean, you're having such a great time down there. We go home and we'll pray. Why are you doing this in the garden?" And she said, "I'm having so much fun, mummy. I just wanted to say thank you, God. That's all." So, these little pleasures in we take for granted when we are with our friends, we have a great time, but we never stop to say thank you for it, for that moment. And here, this 2-year-old, 3-year-old was, on her knees saying thank you for that moment of happiness. So, yeah, so these little lessons she taught me along the way to not take things for granted. So in my journey, I feel like I'm the chosen one where she's concerned. So it is an absolute privilege for me to be able to share her journey with her.
Yes. How was your interaction with experts, epilepsy experts, and what, in your opinion, could have been different?
uh, we did our share of doctor shopping. So we went from one doctor to the other, getting opinions, second opinions, third opinions, tests. We tried various alternate therapies. Okay. Yes, a lot could have been different, should have been different, but unfortunately, we were also learning on the way. So we tried just not allopathy, but we tried homeopathy, we tried Ayurveda, we tried pranic healing, herbal therapy, Reiki, numerology, gemology. We really never left any stone unturned. We changed her name to that extent. So people said, "Okay, why don't you try this?" And we tried it out. If you ask any parent with a child with special needs, they will tell you how we grab onto any ray of hope just to give a child a better quality of life. And that's what we did. We just went on and on hunting and trying to figure out what would work for her. We tried various diets, from the keto diet, Atkins diet, going to dietitians. Maybe the diets would make a change for her. But that was it. Where allopathy is concerned, they just increased and increased her medication. And yeah, at a point of time, she was totally a zombie, you could say. Like she would get up in the morning, Get a number of attacks, go back to bed. Get up, have a number of attacks, go back to bed. That was her day. She was not unable to do anything. And it was because of the medications itself, not the epilepsy. The medications itself were interacting with one another, and she was on 6, 7 medications at a time. So, yeah, it's just crazy. And we did a lot of reading up after that, and we realized that she should be only on 2 medications. The third and fourth do nothing. They just interact with one another. So here she was on 6 and 7 medications. So it had knocked her out completely.
Talking about accessibility, how often do you take your daughter out? And are these places, public places, very comfortable or uncomfortable?
Uh, Epilepsy with my daughter is it's not a disability, a physical disability that she has. So accessibility from a different point of view, I would give you, because she was on so many medications. She developed a lot of sensory triggers. Okay, and for example, smell was a big issue with her. Smell, if you put a very strong smelling shampoo, perfume, deodorant, powder, and if you just passed her by, that was enough for a trigger to get her a seizure. So going to malls, going to shops, going here and there, if you know who now what it is like, it is full of agarbatti, and agarbatti was a major trigger for her. So she would just get a smell of the agarbatti, and that was enough for her to get a seizure. So accessibility to malls, and it was a problem. It definitely was a problem going to any of these public places, because anywhere and everywhere have agarbatti. And then it goes to another extent of religious sentiments. But it has nothing to do with religion as such. This girl was allergic to smell, basically. If you went to a restaurant, the food smell would give her a seizure. So again, or you had in school when she had her tiffin box, she opened the tiffin box, and the first fragrance of food would trigger an epilepsy attack. Then
Okay.
the first morsel she would eat, even if she was not very hungry, the first morsel itself would trigger an attack. So these little things, going to public places was extremely difficult because everywhere is filled with smells. You can't stop people washing their hair or putting a deodorant or a shampoo, but all they had to do is pass her and she would have an attack. So going to public
Mm-hmm.
places, and yes, if she did, sometimes, I we let epilepsy take over our lives for a long time, for about 6, 7 years. We just tried avoiding going to public places, taking her with us because she would get an attack.
Okay.
And then we reach a stage like enough is enough. She needs to get out. She needs to go and be with her friends. And I would take her, and sometimes she would get an attack, and you had people crowding around, what happened, trying to be very helpful, but very often they would pass some loose comments which would be very hurtful to her and us. Like a comment made once was, when she had an attack, she had just come round, she was very disoriented, and somebody told us, so she's possessed to what, um, bhut laga hai, comments like that. So it's not done. So that, yes, we started avoiding public spaces for those kind of reasons.
So, do you still avoid public places now?
She is a
The
little
smell
better.
and the aroma are still a problem.
It is a little better, but yes, it does act as a trigger now and again. But
Okay.
it is little better. So we do go out.
Okay.
Um, Again, it's depends. Sometimes she needs to go out and we take her out and we say, okay, if you go out and you have a great time and nothing happens, well, you just had a great day. So we just take the chance and say, okay, let's do it. So we do have to take our chances.
So, ma'am, is there any message that you would like to give to other parents of children with epilepsy?
uh yes. See, it is only a condition that the child has. So they need to be given their space, they need to be given their time, they need to an opportunity to figure out what they want to do. And personally going through it, and I would say don't let epilepsy run your life. It should not run your life. It shouldn't set boundaries for what you want to do, what the child wants to do. You should just go out and do it. Epilepsy will take care of itself. So, yeah, things are going to be a little difficult, but accepting the situation, not being ashamed of the child, not being ashamed of the situation that you're in, and just move on. You have to keep an open mind. You don't, you never know how the universe might work, and something might just turn around for the child, and things might just work out.
So, thank you so much, ma'am. That was our last question. Thank you so much for being here with Disability Bytes. I would like to thank the audience who are watching this right now. Ekansh Trust for the back end support. Thank you for watching this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.